Previously, we've made a huge theory about the Hunt chapter and how all these castles, all the Mr. Stitchy notes and everything else from this map was part of the secret location called the South Ruins. These ruins are now the home of the Insolence, the place where the Insolence has control over everything. However, many of you may not know that these ruins used to be part of a kingdom where people existed, where a king and queen were in power, and where TIO was born. And that's exactly what today's theory is about. We've talked about TIO in the past, but never about his parents, his home, and what happened when he was young and quiet. But today, I've gathered enough evidence in order to make this theory. I believe that TIO is in fact the child of King Milo and Queen Viola. So, let's look at the facts here. In the past, we've theorized how TIO was one of the people that lived inside this kingdom, and to be more exact, he was living right inside this room, and there's a lot of evidence to it. This room has 4 different Mr. Stitchy references, 3 pictures of him and an actual plushie, and we know that TIO used to have a friend that made him what he is now, which everyone theorizes that is Mr. Stitchy. Not only that, but inside this room we can also find a purple bed and a purple clothing material on the table. And this wouldn't be the first time colors hinted at specific characters, as Minitoon had recently used colored beds inside the DK chapter to symbolize Tigry, which we've made an entire theory on. But anyways, these 2 purple objects inside the room are 99% hinting at TIO, because we know TIO's clothes were also purple, and inside this chapter, we can see how in the early days, TIO was trying to create these clothes out of purple material, so I can guarantee that this was TIO's room, which reveals a lot of stuff. First of all, TIO was living in this kingdom, and second, he wasn't a normal citizen, because he wasn't living in the outside houses, he was living in the castle. But who else was there with him? Because earlier I've mentioned how TIO was the child of a king and queen. Well, we can actually learn more about these people in some notes from the kingdom, like this one that says, "It has been a week since my son has left. I want search parties turning over every rock in my kingdom to find him." And this one, "The land has been cursed, we're suffering from a famine, and most people have left. I will remain here until I can find my child." Notice anything similar between these two? They are both wrote by the same person, a person that calls the South Ruins their kingdom, meaning that whoever this person is, they are the king of the South Ruins. But there's more to this. This king also had a child that mysteriously disappeared, and I think it's pretty obvious to say that the child was the person that owned this room, because of kid drawings and even plushies, meaning that the king of the South Ruins was looking for his missing child, that being TIO. TIO was the child of the king, the child that went missing because of Mr. Stitchy, and because of him going missing, we can assume that Mr. Stitchy caused chaos in the South Ruins, seeing how the king said that his kingdom is cursed, suffering from a famine, most probably done by Mr. Stitchy as revenge. Okay, so I theorized that TIO was the king's child, the king of the kingdom that we all know as the South Ruins. But after this part of the theory, I became even more curious about TIO's parents, and the main question that I had in mind was, who was the king of this kingdom? Who was TIO's father? Because it cannot be just a random non-important character. TIO was a massive reveal for Piggy's storyline, so his parents must be somewhat important, right? Well, they are, and I think I've also managed to find out who they are. Let's continue our theory by going to Doveport, inside Book 2 Chapter 9, The Docks. We can find a really weird tomb located under the facility that really shouldn't be there. However, the things inside the tomb are what we need to look out for, because this tomb was created long before Doveport was even built, as seen in this note that says, "Do you think they had any idea a tomb was here when they built the docks?" Meaning that this tomb was built long before most cities and towns were created. This tomb is an extremely old one, and the things inside can prove it. Inside the tomb, you can find 3 graves, one for a person called Queen Viola, another one for King Milo, and the third one is completely empty, just with a note inside that says soon. However, these 2 graves, King Milo and Queen Viola, are extremely important for our theory, because these graves have messages on them. Queen Viola's grave says, may she continue her Firen's conquests in the afterlife. King Milo's grave says, may he rule over the realm of the dead for eternity. Both of these graves can confirm that these people, Milo and Viola, were at some point leaders of a kingdom, but are now dead. And the only kingdom that we know existed in Evalia are the South Ruins. But that's not even all. We already know that besides these 2 graves, there is a third one that is empty, sitting in the middle of the room. Now, for months everyone has tried to theorize whose grave this could be and why they are here. Well, the answer was right in front of us all this time. King Milo and Queen Viola are the parents of Theo and the leaders of the South Ruins, and the 3 graves are here to represent those leaders: the king, the queen, and the son, Theo. The third grave was supposed to be Theo's grave, the place that he would rest in after he died. And even the note inside of it that says soon was kind of confirming this, and I theorized that this note was wrote either by the king and queen or by Mr. Stitchy himself, knowing that Theo's time will come to an end at some point, and that explains a lot of stuff. But there is still a pretty big question that everyone is asking. Why here? We know that the kingdom itself was somewhere in the south center of the planet, but then why were their leaders' graves located in Doveport, in the snowy north areas of Evalia? Well, we don't have that much information about this, at least for now, but I do have 2 different theories. Since we know King Milo was so worried about his son, he, along with Queen Viola, may have started to look for Theo themselves, searching all over the continent and then ending up to the north. Or my second theory, which I think would make more sense, is that after Theo learned the powers that Mr. Stitchy had, he was so frustrated that he started chaos and destruction all over their kingdom, exactly as this note was telling us. And we know from our latest theory that the South Ruins, aka the kingdom, was the place where the insolence was created, meaning that the insolence and Mr. Stitchy had the most power and control inside this area. So after Mr. Stitchy started causing chaos in the kingdom, Queen Viola, along with King Milo, had no other choice but to evacuate, leaving their missing child behind and moving to a place where the insolence had less control. That being up north. And that was everything for today's theory. Not only we've discovered that King Milo and Queen Viola were Theo's parents, but many more mysteries along our small journey. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this theory and what are your theories? But that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching.